when you look up retirement advice, 99% of the advice is financial advice. So then that leaves us untrained to know what to do with ourselves mentally, emotionally, right, and physically in retirement, right? So that first part is about getting into the step that most people just skip over, right? We do all this financial prep and it's very concrete and we have all the advice we need. And then we cross that finish line. It's like, oh my gosh, open identity, open roles, so many subtle, invisible shifts. And so we just wing it and do trial and error. And then of course, those stereotypical things are not for everyone.
Welcome to another Finishing Strong podcast. If you haven't joined us before, Finishing Strong is dedicated to helping people transition from working full-time to something else and to integrate their faith with their new purpose. I'm happy to be joined today by Cyn Meyer. Cyn is an author, a speaker, and a coach, helping people navigate the challenges of retirement. Her book, The Rewire Retirement Method, is available on Amazon. Cyn's been coaching older adults for over 7 years. And what I like about her is that she offers a very clear and simple pathway to a successful and a flourishing retirement. In the book, Cyn debunks the outdated retirement stereotypes and instead shares a practical 3-step system to gain clarity, engage micro steps, and build unstoppable momentum. Well, Cyn, thank you so much for joining me today here for another Finishing Strong podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and look forward to our time together.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
You bet. Well, tell us a little bit, right? The obvious question, and I know from listening to some other podcasts and hearing some of the things that you've published, right? You're not an obvious person in retirement. You're younger than some of us who are older adults, and yet it's a passion, and it's not a new passion. It's been a part of your interest for a long time. So tell our listeners how you even got into the focus on retirement age.
I have always wanted to work with this audience. I grew up playing music, violin, in retirement homes. So I saw early on what happens with a sedentary lifestyle. And so that kind of struck me early on. And then fast forward to 2011, my dad had brain surgery and 38 rounds of radiation. And then both my grandparents passed with Alzheimer's. And so that's when I took a deep dive into neuroscience. And I had been in a career of marketing. So I was marketing director for 20 years, and one of those industries was financial advisory. And I saw firsthand this audience of retirees with big nest eggs quickly fall into the retirement rut and fall victim to a sedentary lifestyle. So that was a passion that kind of grew in the background. And this, life coaching, I became a certified life coach. I started working one-on-one with individuals. And so in 2011 is when I married neuroscience with life coaching tools and came up with my program. And so it was very much like a background. I'm doing this. I would do this for free. And then it grew and grew and grew from there. That was about 8 years I've been actively doing this. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, and you saw some of the same things I did, which led me to Finishing Strong, which is it isn't about the money. There's plenty of people out there to be able to help people counsel and advise and financially plan and all those things. But that's just one piece, all right, the one pillar that's important for successful retirement. But you've seen what happens in the end, the people living without purpose and the people with lack of structure and so forth. But I want to unpack kind of the way you really laid out your book, the Rewire Retirement Method. So with all this observation, you've created a method for people that you use and for your book and you coach people. So kind of the first part of the method, we'll go into the method. We'll talk about what those stages of retirement. I love your presentation of the stages of retirement, and then we'll hit on kind of those those five rings of retirement, which is really the core of, I think, your coaching. But let's talk about just the method itself. And you talk about the three pieces: gaining clarity, engage micro steps, and then build momentum. So as someone's entering into this season, uh, let's first talk about the gain clarity. What are they trying to gain clarity about?
Okay, so you bring up the best point, which is there's more to life than money, right? And so, yet, ironically, which is why I'm so passionate about this whole mission and it's just like flipping that stereotype on its head. So when you look up retirement advice, 99% of the advice is financial advice. So then that leaves us untrained to know what to do with ourselves mentally, emotionally, right, and physically in retirement, right? So that first part is about getting into the step that most people just skip over, right? We do all this financial prep and it's very concrete and we have all the advice we need. And then we cross that finish line. It's like, oh my gosh, open identity, open roles, so many subtle, invisible shifts. And so we just wing it and do trial and error. And then, of course, those stereotypical things are not for everyone, right? Leisure only is not a lifestyle for everyone. Going to the senior center and doing, very popular things like within the stereotype is not for everyone. So, I mean, it's like saying, um, how do you pick your career? Like, right? It's like so vastly different across each individual. That's like picking your retirement lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that first step is gaining clarity. And
Now
so,
let me ask you about that. Do you think people can gain clarity pre-retirement?
yes. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yes, and they do.
great.
And so I work with people all across the board, post-retirement, pre-retirement, semi-retired, right? And I always say, if you're seeking the answers, it doesn't matter what your physical employment status is, you are ready for growth. You are ready to gain clarity, right? So very much encourage people to gain clarity before their retirement. That way you can integrate into your physical life some of these things and these shifts and role type of details before. And that's why it's like a smoother transition that way, physically.
Yeah, and it is the beginning. I had the privilege a couple weeks ago to part of something called Modern Elder Academy, and we had
Yeah.
a week away with Arthur Brooks, author of Strength to Strength, whose materials I use, and it's just such an incredible privilege. But what I found looking around the room with people is that they were mostly people over 60, some in their 50s, most people over 60, most had plenty of money, and they were in this place of now. Whether it was 2 months or on their way or a few years into retirement, they're going, there's something more. I want to live my life with meaning. And when I think they were coming to this week to hoping to gain a little more clarity on
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. And it's nice that they can attend like a retreat like that or a group with guidance in person. Yeah. Um, so I like to supply people with the option to do it like whenever you're ready, wherever you're ready, like anytime,
yeah,
anywhere, like at your own pace, depending on how deep, fast you want to go, kind of a thing. So that's nice that people are getting into that. Very important.
yeah. Okay, so gain clarity is one step, then engage in micro steps. What does that look like?
Okay, so the caveat about gaining clarity is that it is not an extrinsic thing, right? So we are programmed and conditioned, and it works very, very well to go to external motivators to grow our careers, achieve our
Mm,
families, right? And that serves us very well in that period. And then this is where we rewire. That's why my book is called Rewire Retirement Method. Um, to reprogram the rerouting in your brain to go internal. So, what lights you up from the inside out? These are your deeper desires, wishes, dreams, and goals, right? We're not used to asking ourselves that as we're focused on money and career and success and achievement and all these external things. And so
mm.
it's very important to gain clarity from the inside. So that transition from step one, which is inner action, I call it, to outer action is step two. So
Okay.
it's once we have that clarity from within, and it's like a very thorough process that I really encourage people to do consistently for a longer period of time. I say 14 days minimum. If you do my full program, we walk through the five rings of retirement and we do the first 2 months strictly on gaining clarity. And then after you have clarity, then it's time to go to outer action. And those are the micro steps. Um, Once you have that clarity, then you know, like, okay, I know what to do next, kind of a thing. And it's still all built within the same system of step three, which actually starts right alongside step one. So it's kind of like a visual where it's like step one and step two are on top, and step three on the bottom starts exactly when step one does, and that's momentum. So
Yeah,
this whole
yeah.
thing about how your brain works, and getting the rewiring going and your subconscious system on board, thinking about it, your reticular activating system, it continues to seek the answers and the gaining clarity process while you're not even probing it consciously. So it gathers all the information, it keeps seeking, it keeps filtering the correct things because you're probing consistently daily. And that's the magical cumulative benefits that occurs when you are building this momentum. And then you have that, you have the clarity. That's why it's like, oh my gosh, you do this consistently for so many days, like more and more and more epiphanies are coming. And then the outer action, step two, you keep that going. So you keep that system going, right? So it's very much like a training of the brain process, rerouting it for the
Hmm.
information and training it to focus on it for the actual achievement of it as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. My observation, and it would be typical for me if I wasn't so deep into the space, but what I've seen a lot of people do is maybe bypass gaining clarity and jumping into micro steps. Like, I just want to start doing something, right? And so they
Yes.
just start playing with things. So
Yes.
your order really makes a lot of sense.
And I would also say that it's not typically micro steps that they're diving into. They're diving into macro steps, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of like, well, I think I should be trying this one thing, and they go all in, or they're like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to do that? Right? And so they're just kind of like big, almost like black and white type of thoughts
yeah,
and steps.
yeah.
And then that's when people like lose energy, right? Because it's like, oh no, that's not meant for me because there wasn't the total clarity, or the how gets in the way, and then they poo-poo the idea before it actually, has enough life to take off on its own. And so that's kind of when people fall into the retirement rut, is what I have found.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned the brain a couple of times, and you are like I said, expert on neuroplasticity. Help us put that in lay terms for people that don't have the understanding that you do. What does the power of neuroplasticity mean?
So you can create new neural pathways in your brain until the day you die. So basically, we're designed to grow, change, evolve, develop, have creative, different new experiences indefinitely, right? We
Yeah,
are built for lifelong learning. So that's why it is such a disservice to have this stereotypical picture painted of retirement where it's like leisure only. It is time to settle down, right? Go to no go,
yeah.
or go go to slow go to no go. Um, so I argue that it's time to spiral up, not down, and creating new neural pathways in your brain informs different thoughts, informs different behaviors, informs different experiences, and you grow and you swell from there. Some people live more years in retirement than during their career years. So
Yeah.
we need to leverage the stuff that our brain is capable of doing. And when people do, it is amazing to see. And it's so inspiring. And so that's why I'm so behind this movement. That's why my business is called Second Wind Movement, of having people spiral up and be these role models. And it has a positive ripple effect. And it's wonderful because it, like everyone's career, is so diverse across the board, right? We all have
Mhm.
very unique gifts to share. And when that is fully expressed, it's what we're here to do.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw a Facebook post today, and I follow a bunch of different retirement things, and the picture was a lady at looks like a very nice restaurant. She's got a glass of champagne in front of her, and she said, "Today's the last day. I've been a CEO in a particular industry, and I'm done as of today." And and my thought was, oh, girl, you're just beginning, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you just got, I don't even think you really know what's next. I mean, you've been successful in this deal. And so without the kind of counsel that you can come along and help somebody with is she's just in for what Dan Buettner of Blue Zone says is this first year retirement. It can be one of the most difficult years of our entire life as we transition that. So, talk about your five emotional steps, or your emotional maybe phases or stages that you have. So, tell me about that. Start with pre-retirement. What are some of the emotional stages in this?
So pre-retirement might be what you just described, where you're like, okay, I've been gauging this day. It's going to be celebratory. I'm financially prepared. I'm, having my glass of wine, nice restaurant celebration, right? And so that's very concrete. Then you cross that finish line, and then it's like, yay, no stress. I can let that go. I don't have to answer to anyone. I can take a trip. All those thoughts where during your working life or, before quote retirement, you're like, oh, I'll do that when. I would love to do that when I retire, right? It's like those like energizing ideas that you're like, okay, but I'm not allowing myself to partake in that right now because I have other priorities. And so maybe all that excitement is like, okay, yay, now I can do it. And then reality happens and you're like, oh my gosh. So that's stage two honeymoon. And then you're like, oh my gosh, actually, how do I do that? Or maybe I don't even want to do that. What's going on? And it's like so many subtle, invisible shifts are happening at once. So that's the disenchantment stage. You can, and my whole goal is to cut that disenchantment stage because that's where I call it the retirement rut stage, is you could chop it by doing this gaining clarity like early. So maybe that woman at the restaurant had been doing that work. We don't know, but that's the
Yeah,
ideal
right.
situation. Yeah. And then once you gain this clarity and you're like, okay, what do I really want? You dig deep, like whether it's a forced rut or if you're proactively doing it, then you reorient. That's reorientation stage four. Um, and you kind of like integrate these ideas, the pendulum swings from one end to the other and maybe kind of like settles into the middle, then it's more like stability, right? So that's like the stage five classic emotional stages of retirement. And I am really about encouraging a huge stage six of growth, indefinite. If you
Yeah,
look at the chart, it's
yeah.
like bigger than all five stages, and it goes and it grows, and it's one of those big, 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 like self-actualizing, fulfilling, deeply enriching experiences that's up to you to create, and it's entirely possible.
Yeah, but I connect to the disenchantment. I did I call it a kind of a pre-retirement or my first retirement. And the honeymoon part, I bought a one-way. My wife and I bought one-way tickets to Mexico. Said, hey, we'll see when we come
Wow.
back. And I knew it was gosh, now 6.5 years ago or so when I did this. And I knew I wasn't going to fully retire, but I knew I had just left a company I'd been with for 15 years. And so, it was fun for the first time. Family was down, friends were down, and then everybody finally left in mid-January. And I remember just kind of doing in a journal and going, wow, I don't have a thing to do today. I don't have a job. I'm not on any boards. I don't have a dog. I don't have kids at home. I don't have anything. And I didn't like it. It was the ultimate disenchantment for me of just that overwhelming feeling of I don't have much of a plan, and I have no idea how I'm going to occupy this amount of time in my life. And it was tough. I mean, and I think that's that tough first year for that a lot of people face. For some, right? Maybe means and prepared options of lots of travel. The honeymoon stage can last for a longer time than just a few months, but even that runs out, right? And then you
Hmm.
come into the challenges that you describe that kind of they are the challenges that keep us from having a successful life. So your first one is lack of purpose, right? The ultimate challenge that we have. Tell us what you've seen in there.
Yeah, that's probably what you just described, where it's like the number one challenge I've seen. And, you know, purpose is a sense of accomplishment, contribution, and sharing your unique gifts, right? So, and it's very closely tied to identity and role. And so when you are not really like expressing or helping or serving or sharing or engaging with, right? Like there's that lack of purpose and it's like, who am I? What's going on? What am I here to do now? And so that can be very discombobulating for people. Um, Especially if they're going from go, 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 high energy, like accomplishing, serving, and like their purpose
Yeah.
is very, very maxed out, right? And you're going from that to open structure, open role, open identity is like 60 to 0. And that's shocking for the system. So,
Yeah.
what you described is very common, especially for high achievers, I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. So lack of purpose. And then the other thing I see, and that you pointed out, the lack of structure.
Right. So when you were sitting there saying, I have zero things that I need to do or that I want to do, open calendar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Open structure. And so there's that lack of urgency, right? So I don't really have to do anything. I don't even really have to figure this out. I know I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you could freeze. And without the structure, there's no real clear, tangible time or place to do anything about anything.
Mhm.
And so it can really like solidify the stickiness and stuckness for some people. So structure, I would say, is equally, if not more important in retirement than during your career years, because if we don't have that clarity, then we can fall victim to that stuckness and that lost sensation even more deeply. Um, and yes, I understand that freedom is a big word in retirement, right? I work so hard, I have this, I want this free. I encourage people to structure in the freedom, like schedule in spontaneity, right? So that you can
Yeah.
have it all because you are have it all. You are here to have it all. You can have it all, right? And structure is, counterintuitively supportive of that.
Yeah, a lot of the language that you and I both hear is this. So we have this affluence of time now,
Mm.
and it's almost it's oh I forget what there's a scientific project out there about something about too many choices in front of you, and so you end up getting paralyzed. And I think it's like if you sat at a buffet table all the time, you got so much things there, you get paralyzed without the structure. One of the things that when I first started finishing strong, it was all for men. And the first 3 or 4 workshops I did for men, and men started asking, saying, "Hey, I think I'd like to have my wife here to come to this because a lot of these are decisions and concepts and things that we need to be doing together." And one of the things for trad wives, when these in the traditional maybe marriages where the husband's going to work and the woman's been having a more family focus, that man, we come into their world, right?
Yes.
Without structure. And hey, now what are you doing?
Yes.
Now what do you want to talk about? It's
Uh-huh.
like, God, don't you have something to do? Don't you have some friends to go see?
Right, right, right. Messing with the system, the cadence. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
lack of purpose, lack of structure, and then fears. Fears as they
Fears.
move forward. Tell us about fears.
Fear of the unknown is a big one, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is who I was. This is what I've known. This is what I have been. What now? Who am I? And then that feeling of like just not knowing self, it can be very frightening. And so that's why step one is very much about gaining clarity from within. It's really just a system of getting to know yourself at a deeper level to get the information and access your deeper like wishes, desires, and goals and dreams and who you truly are. And when you show up and connect with that person, you show up as the better and more authentic version of you. And that who attracts these most energizing people, places, activities, experiences. And that's what I see as true growth. Yeah. So that is a big one, the fear of the unknown. Because we're not used to
Yeah.
going inward and knowing self, right? We're just used to kind of
Yes.
metrics externally.
What are some other fears you see that people have in this season that prevent them from moving forward?
Fears of not being relevant,
Yeah.
or useful or helpful or contributing. So that is more about purpose, right? And not being able to share or help an audience or help others, that kind of a thing, or share or even express who they are and being like, okay, someone cares about this. It's a big fear as well. Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, Arthur Brooks in the Strength of Strengths talks a lot about this the fluid intelligence that leads us to the success early in our lives, but it quite scientifically begins to decline even in our 30s and early 40s. But what is replacing that is our crystallized intelligence or wisdom that we might call, and everybody we're talking to has years behind them that you can't get in a book. They've got these experiences, they've got some things. And so I hope our encouragement for the work that you do and the work that I do is about no, you do, no matter who
Yes.
you are, you've got something to offer a lot of people.
100%. And it's so valuable. It's so rich. It's so deep and it's real. And yes, I would love for people to go inward, dig deep, and share that and express that and be brave through, here's another fear, the fear of failure, right?
Yeah.
It's failing is how you learn, how you grow, how you become, how you become stronger and better at your craft or expression or anything. So that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So when I do a finishing strong workshop, the kind of the last part of the workshop is talking about what I call the four pillars that all lead to purpose. But I use physical health, spiritual health, relational health, and financial health. Although I don't spend much time on the financial health, and then all of those pillars are important for us to live a life of purpose and meaning. Similarly, you write about the rings of retirement, and yours are which you kind of pick up from your emotional stages. The first one's growth, community, health, giving back, and finance. So let's start with growth. How do you move from that? That's your biggest encouragement. You get really excited about that even when you talk about it here in that emotional stage. But that's kind of the first part of the ring of retirement. What does growth look like?
Growth looks like change. Growth looks like creativity. Growth looks like really, really being brave enough to go inward to really find out who you are in this current stage and getting to know self so that you could be brave enough to express that and show up as that self, right? And it's going to
Mhm.
look totally new and different. And it's in your brain, literally like rerouting in new ways. If you express creativity as like literally two novel ideas put together in a brand new way, you're going to
Mm.
have so many different experiences out of this. I always say in first sessions, like we never want to predict what your growth will look like, and we never want to predict what your purpose will look like because then you'll kind of limit the possibilities, right? Because even if someone's like, okay, I am feeling this big void from my career, and now I need to find what's going to replace that. So it's not necessarily replacing one for one. It's you digging deep, getting to know your growth path, who you want to become, who you are becoming, and sharing your unique gifts. And um, and being like multifaceted about it. So it's more like one to like a very multifaceted, robust retirement life, right? And so even if it's one of them is giving back, that's the fourth ring, sharing your unique gifts. It's not like one format. We never want to be like, oh, I always thought I would write a book and then that might be the way that I
Mhm.
give back, right? It's like, let's not poo-poo the idea. Let's literally just do the gaining clarity process and get to know your growth path and who you are and who you're becoming. And it could be a mix, like a portfolio, diverse portfolio of five different ways of giving back, five different formats. It could, you know what I mean? Speaking, starting a chapter, coaching, and they would each have their own cadences. So I really encourage people to just like be open-minded and learn it all because your brain is designed to do that, and definitely not a know-it-all, meaning like I know everything about myself. I've had 6, 7 decades under my life. I know everything. It's more about you're wired to do new and different. So let's learn it all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'm going to come back to asking you for some examples of what that looks like, because that sounds like just such a fulfilled life when you talk about pursuing those things. So, growth is the first ring, community is the second one.
Community is relationships.
Yeah.
So it's the intimate ones with your spouse, your family, and then the community at large. So just we need as humans connection, and it's about aligning with the people that encourage your growth, right? The people who are more about embracing challenges and authenticity versus, the classic like fear-based types of convenient relationships, right? Like gossiping or talking about the news and those types of things. It's more just like, let's prune and have these connections that are aligned with who you're becoming.
Yeah, yeah. One of the no judgment on it because people do it for different reasons, but I think the risk of the hey, I'm going to move to Arizona or Florida and get in a community. There's great opportunities for community in there, but if you've lived in a community for a long time and you've got family relationships around you, it's really hard to start over, and it's really easy to isolate, choosing that get out of where I've been for so long and getting rid of all the roots, relational roots I've had and going to go start over. It's a big challenge. I don't know if you've seen that with some of your clients.
Definitely a big challenge. And sometimes people jump to like, I need to find my ho forever home and it's got to be perfect. And once I find the perfect place, then I can start to do all the things I want to do, right? And so that's when I encourage not the all or nothing, not the black and white, but the integrated like portfolio that's diverse, right? Like what specific things do you love that are aligned with you? And it's people, places, activities, events, right? What who truly like answers inside, and you carry that with you wherever you go. It's not going to be found in the perfect quote community. And I have, unfortunately, yet fortunately, because it's a growth opportunity, come across some people who do that. They move prematurely and then it's not the right fit. And they're like, now where do I go? Kind of a
Yeah.
thing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Okay, growth first ring, community second, and not that there's a sequence, they all kind of fit together, but health. What's your encouragement for folks as they pursue this season of their life and health?
So health, we all know, diet and exercise, physical health and movement, but mental and emotional, right?
Yeah.
And like spiritual. So it's very much just all of this is an integrated system. So, I encourage people to journey everywhere, because it's all interconnected. Mhm.
Yeah, there's so much out there for it seemed that used to be all the health books were for the 20, 30-year olds and go to the gym and power lift and things like that. And there are some good things about that, but there is so much now out there. Peter Attia, lots of thought leaders out there who are helping those of us who are older adults age in a healthy lifestyle and recognize that if we don't have our health, we can't get around and we can't grow. We can't pursue community. And it's such a core part of the need. This is one of those things for pre-retirement that people could start spending some time in pre-retirement to get their health in order. If they've just been cranking out the work for 30, 40 years, it's boy, it's if it's not too late, which it never really is,
Mhm.
it's time to start taking care of your health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
physical stuff is a nice concrete place to
Yeah.
start. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fourth, giving back.
So giving back, sharing your unique gifts, finding your sense of purpose or sharing your sense of purpose and accomplishment and being relevant in the world. And so this is where I really encourage people not to predict the formats or what they want to share or what they care about, but to be totally open to a diverse portfolio of how you get involved and how you show up and share unique gifts and connect with others and learn about what audiences you are excited about helping.
I in my workshops I use some Richard Leider material of his formula G plus V plus P equals your calling or your purpose, and that's just really another way of saying what you said: gifts and talents, your values, gifts and talents plus your values. Plus your passion equal your purpose or your calling, and so it's packaged a little differently. Here's a question for you, and it's something that struck me the other day: the difference in purpose and in meaning, and it struck me that I have, in fact, I have my tagline, right? Live with purpose. And I'm given some thought to changing that to live with meaning. And what I found with these people who were at the conference I was a couple weeks ago, they really were looking for meaning is whatever they wanted to do, they want to have some meaning in it. And purpose was kind of a way to get to something with meaning. And
Hmm.
what do you see in that?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I like to think of meaning as like everything has meaning if you give it meaning. So it has the meaning that you give it, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
if you're looking, it depends on your definition of meaning. So with purpose, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm sharing unique gifts, like I'm helping others, I'm connecting with others. And so you're giving, your sense of accomplishment that meaning, right? Um, yeah, but I feel that you can give anything meaning, any relationship
Yeah,
meaning, any moment meaning. And I like to whittle things down to energy. What energizes you, right? That could
yeah.
give it more meaning and depth and fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. Your last ring, which you and I don't spend a lot of time on, but it's a core part of the pillars of the rings, is finance. How do you guide people in finance?
So I do not guide them financially other than have a very clear snapshot of what you have and the inflows and outflows and all of these things. But it's more about using finances to fuel your life in the other four more colorful, deep, enriching aspects of life, right? So it's very just top level. And if it is, so I have people gauge their energy level, back to energy, in each of the five rings. That's how we start. And if it's low in energy, right, then there is such thing as a paid passion project, right, which I highly encourage people to do. So you can turn anything that gives you energy into like a revenue generating situation. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I would say just don't limit. Like, same thing, don't limit yourself. Um, in thinking that like my budget is my budget and it's, stagnant. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that. So you've worked with lots of people over the years, and I've seen some of your testimonials, read some of the testimonials in the book, and seen some posted. But tell us about some of your stories of people who have done the Rewire method. They've had an epiphany. They've gone through these things. Give us some examples of some people you've worked with.
Okay, so there's two larger types of people, right? So there's typically like the high achiever, C-suite, executive business owner type that's like high achieving, go, 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 accomplishment, right? And so they retire and there's like, boom, open structure. Who am I? What's going on? So they're like the Ferrari stuck in a barn kind of a thing. Um, and then another type is someone who has been almost overgiving in their career, like I think nurse or teacher or someone who just
Yeah,
goes above and beyond. And then so boom, retirement. And then the misalignment is like, well, I don't want to volunteer. I don't want to give back. I'm burnt out on that stuff, right? And
yeah,
so I'll hear blanket statements like volunteering is not for me right now. I'm burnt out. So in both cases, it's just retirement rut. And the solution is the same across the board because it's internal. And so the outcomes are extremely different. So the solution of going inward for those intrinsic motivators and going through the rewiring process and getting to know like really like this clarity that's like multifaceted in everything. So you go through the whole thing and then you start to pull in piece by piece, layer by layer of your dream life into reality in a very systematic way. And so that sets you up for like a beautiful growth trajectory. And so coming out the other end, it's so varied. Writing books,
yeah,
starting chapters, consulting, starting nonprofits with or without your spouse, right? Like traveling,
yeah,
side passion projects that are paid or not paid. And then there's the creative expressions like dancing, acting, painting, writing music, playing a musical instrument. And then there's like hiking, like fitness, recreational, definitely enthusiasts, and climbing mountains, you know, becoming the best grandparent, to
yeah,
yeah, that's role model, leaving my legacy to my family, things like that. It's beautiful. It's so different. Um, it's really like limitless. And for most people, It's a combination of so many different things, right? It's not like a retirement chunk. Now this is your role. It's like this is truly who I am, and it's very colorful.
Yeah, it's like I think Richard Leider says the big peas and the little peas. There's lots of I won't say little because I think being a grandparent, being the best grandparent can be an incredible undertaking, an incredible blessing to the family and to the community. But I think we sometimes I see people trying to look for that big, oh, I got to find my purpose, right? And I got to
Yeah.
seek it out. And yet for many of us, it's right in front of us, and it has to do with those
Yes.
passions, and it has to do with some simple things we can do, but we do it intentionally now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you'll find the answers in the most subtle moments. Yeah. And it's kind of like people are looking for like a lightning bolt change, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
this hit of clarity. And I have found that it's in those most, like the more subtle the moment, the more profound the shift. Yeah,
Yeah,
over time.
yeah. So you've got some great point. We'll put in our show notes. We'll mention it here in a little bit in terms of the resources that you have and the websites and how to contact you, how to learn more about Second Wind movement and the process. I know on your website you've got a checklist for people to go through. You've got a summary of the five rings we've just talked about, and a ton of great resources and articles. If you're appointing somebody, they go and they click on secondwindmovement.com for the resources now. What are some things you would guide people to get started, to learn, but also then to be able to reach out to you to engage your services?
Yeah, everything I publish is all for the one goal of turning your retirement years into your best years, right? Full of purpose and passion. And so it's really up to you how deep, thorough, fast, quickly, or slow you want to go if you're being proactive. So the masterclass is a good one. If you want to go deeper, quiz is a nice, light, airy place. So what's your retirement purpose is a nice, fun
Okay.
quiz. And then if you are just like stuck, I want really deep help right now, you can just reach out to me directly,
Okay.
Cynthia at secondwindmovement.com.
Okay. All right. Well, we will put all those links in there. And again, thanks so much for what you do for our community. Thank you for your passion, and I appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for joining our podcast today. If you want to learn more about Cyn, you can reach her through her website, secondwindmovement.com. She has a ton of resources available on the website, including an opportunity to engage with her for a complimentary 30-minute breakthrough session. If you want to learn more about finishing strong or are interested in retirement coaching, contact me through my website at finishing-strong.org.